It began quietly in Guinea in the last days of 2013, but the Ebola virus quickly spread, becoming one of the world's biggest health concerns of last year.
Thousands of people lost their lives to the disease, but now the epidemic is slowing, with dramatically fewer cases cropping up in Guinea and the other two worst affected countries, Liberia and Sierra Leone.
All this progress is encouraging, but is the threat really over? West Africa correspondent Ann Look tells us what she's been seeing and hearing.
We're talking about some of the lowest numbers we've seen since June. June was when Ebola really surged outside of Guinea and kind of overtook Sierra Leone and Liberia. But now, we're reporting the fewest cases we've seen since June. Liberia is reporting, only 5 new cases of Ebola. So it's really promising. People are starting to really talk about turning the corner, turning the tide.
And how has this happened? What efforts have been working?
It's just been a combination of what they've been trying to do all along, isolating patients, educating communities, tracing contacts, safe burials. The problem was just the sheer volume of cases they were confronted with. The response was slow to ramp up and slow to keep pace with the outbreak over the summer. And so by the time we got to August, September, it had just exploded and everyone was running to catch up. They've now, it appears, caught up. In Sierra Leone and Liberia, there are ETUs that are closing wards, that are reducing the numbers of beds, that have empty beds. It's just been that combo of things. But keep in mind, over the past month or two, it still has kind of surged back up in little pockets. For example, in Freetown, the capital of Sierra Leone, back in November, December, we were seeing a worrying trend of increasing cases and some community resistance. And it didn't really, everyone was saying, how did this happen? Why is this part of the country behind everyone else? And so the government launched they called it the surge, to increase the number of ambulances, train burial workers, open more ETUs, surge the response in that area. And it has yielded results.
And Anne, you mentioned these little pockets of flare-ups. How should people be approaching this threat now? What do they need to be doing to still make sure that they are paying attention and keeping themselves safe?
Yeah, I think the countries, especially Liberia and Sierra Leone, people have gotten pretty used to not shaking hands and no hugging and no contact. I think the big concern now, when I talk to people in the region, in the countries that are dealing with this, is the regional interconnectedness of all of this, that these countries share big borders with lots of traffic across them. So, Liberia, no matter what they do in their neck of the woods, they can't really be Ebola-free until Sierra Leone is Ebola-free, until Guinea's Ebola-free. So there's a worry that the countries kind of need to all continue on this progress together. Otherwise, we could see another flare-up.
Right, and you have the unique opportunity of being in the region where we saw most of the cases. So what are people there now saying? Are they feeling better about this?
Yeah, it does feel, in a sense, like the storm has passed a little bit, especially to be seeing these encouraging numbers coming out of places like Liberia. We recently filed a story on schools reopening, which was just such a big deal if you think about it. Schools had been out since the summer because, authorities were so afraid of children coming into so much contact with each other that they would be, kind of dens of contagion. And the fact that these countries are all reopening their schools, it speaks to this level of normalcy. I worked with our VOA Liberian colleague on a story in December about the reopening of a small health clinic outside of Monrovia, which just, the normalcy of it was remarkable. It was amazing because you keep in mind back in August, health workers went on strike. The clinics and the hospitals were too dangerous. Everything shut down. People weren't able to get vaccinations and treatments for things like malaria. So to even just see these little things kind of returning, little bits of normal life returning, it's encouraging.
Encouraging is right, but especially for those in the region, it is still important that you stay vigilant and informed. Doctors Without Borders says the end of the Ebola outbreak is not here yet.